Welcome to r/JustNoHOA, where people tell stories about their crazy homeowner associations. And without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. I feel like a trespasser in my own home. I live in an apartment-style complex, same floor plan, units above and below each other in buildings surrounding a central pool area. I do believe an HOA in this setting makes sense, and I'm not complaining about the need for an HOA. My first set of laundry machines came with the unit when I purchased it, and I'm guessing they were about 30 years old, but they were still in perfect working condition. The laundry area is on tiled floor in the center of the floor plan. No neighbors border any walls of the laundry area. That room is completely enclosed by other rooms in my unit. My downstairs neighbor made a complaint to the HOA that I was doing laundry after 9 PM. It was around 9:30 PM. There aren't any rules about when you can do laundry, only that you, at all times, exercise extreme care to avoid making or permitting to be made loud or objectionable noises. That night I had been washing a bedazzled Snuggie. Don't judge me, I was a teenager when I decided to bedazzle it, which I will admit was banging around in the dryer at that time. It was loud and echoing over the tiled floor, so I closed the door and then pretty much could not hear it anymore. The HOA was sent a recording of the noise, which they forwarded to me. I could not hear a thing on my phone, so I had to forward the file to my work computer and turn the speakers all the way up. Finally, I could faintly hear the sound of my laundry, but even then, only when it was not covered up by the sound of breathing or maybe chewing. The neighbor also complained that I was moving furniture in the middle of the night, an utterly complete fabrication. I told the HOA I would refrain from doing laundry at night, which just left doing laundry on weekends because mornings are for sleep and contemplation. But okay. A couple of times I got home early enough to start a load that could end before 8 PM, just to be on the safe side, but this was very rare. I also told them I had not moved any furniture in months since I had moved in actually. Several months after the first complaints, I donated my 30-plus-year-old machines to a co-worker's mother and took advantage of a big appliance sale to get my shiny new washer/dryer. So shiny, chimes a happy little song when it's done. Can be programmed to start on a delay, so many options to choose from. I also purchased the thickest possible anti-vibration mat that I could find and had the delivery man set it up on that. I started setting the delay to start the wash in the mornings at 6:30 AM. This gives me enough time to deal with the load, either a dry cycle or hang the items to dry, before I go to work. I was so happy, no more stuck doing laundry on the weekends. Y'all, my neighbor complained to HOA again, saying it was causing so much noise it was shaking the floor/ceiling. My machine is brand spanking new, super quiet, no shaking. It has a mat, I'm sleeping through the supposed noise. I asked my dad if he thought it was shaking too much, thinking all the years of doing my laundry somehow was not giving me a reliable perspective. My dad said what little jiggle it did have was fine. I can hear the people who live above me walking around, but I have never heard their laundry machines. The worst of it is that I can hear the footsteps walking across the living room into the bedroom and their shoes being dropped into the closet. It does not bother me, that is life in an urban setting. However, if I had a problem, I would give my neighbor the courtesy of speaking with them directly before lodging a complaint. Honestly, if I was already sensitive to anything like that, then I would live in a single family style home. I responded to the HOA asking what they recommend. I'm kinda pissed, I have no problem with the HOA maintaining our communal areas, fixing any exterior building issues, etc. I do have a problem with using or abusing the HOA in this manner. Anyway, thanks for letting me rant. Do you guys ever get any noise complaints from neighbors? I think personally I've never gotten one, but there certainly have been times where I would have liked to complain about neighbors being way too loud on a Sunday at around 7 AM. Moreover, if I could, I would love to do a noise complaint about those damn airplanes outside, which almost feels like I'm living 100 meters away from an airport or something.
Get rid of one of your children.
Hey guys, I received an email this morning from my HOA and my first thought was to laugh hysterically, my second thought was to post here so you guys could get a good laugh out of my misery. For context, I purchased a condo just under 1,000 square feet in a trendy downtown area. You know, one of those ones with microbreweries, craft shops and organic food stores about 2 years ago, now mainly because it was cheap and in the price range I could afford. Because this area is trendy, a lot of old, childless people like to live in the building. And what do old, retired, childless people like to do? Complain. The board in this building is the definition of overbearing. When me and my fiancé lived there, we would crack jokes constantly that the property management company, we will call them Property Management R Us, would probably send us a notice that we cannot have relations on Sundays. Anytime we would sneeze in the hall, we would have jokingly say we will get a noise complaint. We are older, we don't party, we don't smoke, we keep our unit clean, we are quiet, we don't damage things, the ideal condo dwellers. And yet, we would receive notices about the most minor things constantly. So, back to the current story, when we found out I was pregnant and various other life events, we decided a move was in order and we ended up moving to the country. Since there's still 3 years left on the mortgage and our market is in a slump right now, we decided to rent the place out. I found a lovely tenant. He's a single dad who runs his own company and shares custody of his twin girls who are around 11 years old. So they spend about 50% of the time at his house and the other 50% with their mother. Since he moved in 2 weeks ago, I have received 5 complaints from Property Management R Us about various minor offenses that would literally not be an issue in any other building. I should mention, there's a woman in her mid-50s that lives across the hall from our unit who's on the board and she hates her life and complains about anything she can to Property Management R Us. Well, the email I got this morning states
that there were children hurt in the hall.
And there are too many occupants in the 1-bedroom unit and that I need to immediately remove one of the occupants to bring the total down to 2. I replied back and did not even acknowledge the children in the hall comment because WTF, explaining that they must be confused because my unit is a 2-bedroom unit and that meets the requirements for 4 occupants. She replied back with several emails saying my 2nd bedroom does not have a closet and therefore is not a bedroom and that she will need to inspect the unit, but if it does not have a closet, my tenant will have to kick one of his twins out. 4 walls, a door and a window not count as a suitable bedroom for someone? I'm just laughing because the master bedroom in the house I have now does not have a built-in closet. Is it therefore not a bedroom at all? What have I been sleeping in? I want to reply back with that, but I don't want to provoke them any further. Here is to spending my morning looking up fire codes I can cite to her. Edit number 1, just phoned the head of city planning as well as fire inspector. They both laughed and said there is nothing in either the provincial nor municipal building of fire codes that requires a bedroom to have a built-in closet. The only paragraph in the bylaws pertaining to this states that a 1-bedroom unit shall not exceed 2 occupants and 2-bedroom units shall not exceed 4 occupants, as well as that owners must comply with municipal law and authorities. Since I got the go-ahead from city planning as well as fire inspector, I'm opening a can of whoop-ass on my reply back. Edit number 2, she replied back twice stating she's forwarding it to the board so they can review in one and then in the next telling me the person I spoke to does not know the building codes. This guy is literally the one that enforces this stuff. He's the one that oversees this whole department in the city. Oh my god, waiting to hear back on Monday. Edit number 3, so it's not the huge justice boner update most of you are looking for. Events have been unfolding and I thought letting them play out before updating would be the best. After we last spoke, I stuck to my guns on the 2-bedroom situation and was notified they called the city. I'm thinking they did not like what they heard because despite affirming the building codes are in my favor, they said they are going to
continue to investigate.
After that, the board decided to go ham on citing any and all obscure bylaw violations on my tenant so that they could force him out. I don't think the guy deserved it at all, but when you are at the mercy of the condo board, there's not much you can do, unfair or not. I decided that rather than fighting the good fight with these people, I nicely asked my tenants to leave. He and I were both bummed by the situation, but I paid his moving fee as a sign of goodwill. We just did the exit walkthrough and not 10 minutes after that I had a realtor there. I cannot imagine going through this every time with the board. They add more stress to my life than almost anything else, and with a baby on the way I decided the money was not worth it. In summary, never buy a effing condo or anything with an HOA. Well guys, I guess sometimes the homeowner bully association wins, but either way, if you have watched until here, please don't forget to post some star emojis in the comments and also like the video if you want to support me. Thank you very much in advance. And the next one is an update to the pool story from a few days ago. It is titled, Update, Banned from the Pool, the HOA Keeps Trying It. And basically, if you don't remember the story, it was about a disabled person who wasn't allowed to do her hydrotherapy in a public pool. FHOAs. I'm the user from this thread where the HOA turned off my pool fob because I was using the pool for hydrotherapy for my disability. We thought we had a happy ending here when we got the pool fobs back, but we were unfortunately wrong. The woman who was causing us issues not only stayed on the HOA, she is now the head of the HOA. The thing that stands out most is that they towed our car without warning. We had gone to get the new tags and they were 1 day late in the mail. So think the tags expiring on June 30th and midnight ticks over to July 1st. So instead of warning us in writing, which the HOA contract requires them to do, they towed our car without warning and did not leave a notice. So we wake up a few months ago and one of our cars is just plain missing. We call the cops, we call insurance, and I call my parents, absolutely bawling because I have no idea what to do. The cop they sent in saw the security cameras and he had us call the HOA to get footage to see who stole it.
Oh,
the head of the HOA said with way too much glee in her voice.
We towed it last night. The tags were expired.
She was literally waiting till midnight for our tags to expire so she could send in the tow truck. But she shot herself in the foot because the HOA contract also requires 5 days written notice before a tow. So thankfully, since she shot herself in the foot on that, she had to pay for our car to come out of impound. The tags literally came in the mail that day, so we had our shield back on our car. Things that were in the car that would have been stolen if we could not get our car back include my husband's work computer, important student documents for the children I teach, and my handicap placard. That was just one thing, and technically, since it is in the contract that a car with expired tags can be towed, we were told we could not do anything legally. Especially since she
showed good faith
by paying for our car to be taken out of impound. They also tried to do the same thing to our friend's car in the literally just 3-hour span she was visiting me. Her tags were legit very expired, but thankfully we got home and were able to tell the tow guys that the contract does not cover her since she does not live here, and they let her take her car home easy. Other things that have been attempted, none have succeeded because we now know our contract and copy all our paperwork. Number 1, trying to fine us for feeding an outdoor cat. We did not do it and the security cameras proved it. Number 2, at the meeting, the HOA head implied we were suspicious because we got so many packages. My husband collects records and buys and sells guitar parts. I gleefully was like, "Oh, it's my record collection. Do you want to see?" And proceeded to force her into a good, awkward 40-minute conversation / photo gallery of the gems of our collection. Number 3, she tried to pull the same thing with my monthly crate, which is horror themed and has fake blood splattered designs on the box, so I proceeded to be aggressively socially awkward at her again and happily show her my unboxing photos. Number 4, seriously, I have found that this is the best and most fun way to deal with her because she has no idea how to handle it. Number 5, tried to fine us for littering because I dumped some melted ice in my parking spot on a 95-degree day. Number 6, during the winter they tried to say we never signed to get our chimney cleaned and would be charged for it, but thankfully I copied the form where we officially declined and they backed down. Number 7, tried to pressure us to pay to pressure wash our house again this season because the gardeners they hired got mulch on the side of our house. Husband just cleaned it off with a kitchen sponge, all while glaring at the house of HOA president. All this despite our neighbor legit leaving empty fireball bottles and dozens of spent cigarettes on their side of the porch and us being about it. So yeah, she never gets warnings or fines at all, but we do. That brings us to this. We are selling. We were going to sell anyway at this point in our lives because we have genuinely grown out of this house and the issues with it being old are getting too much for us to handle. It needs some love from someone who actually knows how to fix stuff, plus it's 2-story, which is causing increasingly bad issues with my joints. So soon we will be gone. I'm so excited. And guys, let's pray for OP that they find a house that is not associated with an HOA. By the way, has anyone ever towed your car without warning? For some reason that is always one of my big fears when I'm somewhere I'm not familiar with and I park in a spot I have not parked in before. Have you ever had a similar experience? Let me know in the comments. And the next one has nothing to do with HOAs, but instead has to do with entitled parents / entitled people and was posted by user, I know this name is taken, on our own subreddit. And guys, as usual, if you have an interesting story to share, please feel free to share it on r/ripestories on Reddit so I can read it in a future video. This story is titled, Entitled Parents Asked Us to Kill Our Elderly Dog After Their Daughter Hurt Him. Hi Ripe, this is the first story I ever wrote on Reddit. I thought maybe you would enjoy it. When I was a baby, my parents rescued a dog from the animal shelter and named him Buddy. Buddy was half German Shepherd, half Golden Retriever. We called him our Golden Shepherd and he was the perfect family dog. As the years passed, our family grew fairly larger, my parents' religion encouraged lots of children and Buddy saw each of us and our pet rabbits like his own puppies. He would let us snuggle with him and use him as a pillow, and I think he thought he was a human since he would only walk on the sidewalk, only lay on blankets from our beds, and chasing a ball or a stick was absolutely beneath him. What a quirky boy. This story takes place when I was 12 years old, so by our best guess, Buddy was at least 13. He was old and all the kids in our family knew to give him space and treat him nicely, just like you would an old man. We had some new neighbors who did not like us very much. They only had one 3-year-old daughter and one indoor cat, so our lots of kids, mostly boys, and indoor/outdoor dog were a bit too loud and dirty for them. They avoided us as much as possible, but occasionally their daughter would be outside playing at the same time we were and we would invite her to play with us. On one day like this, my sister had Buddy on a leash in the front yard, drawing with sidewalk chalk with her friend. Buddy was just laying in the sunshine next to them. The little girl came out and asked if she could draw with chalk too, and of course my sister let her and did not think anything bad could happen. The girl, being 3, draws for a bit, then runs off, comes back to draw some more, then runs off again, and my sister does not worry about her because she is just being a toddler. After a bit, this little girl tried to climb on Buddy's back like a horse. My sister stopped her and explained that Buddy is an old man and that hurts his back. The little girl nods and runs off. After a little while of everything going fine, the little girl running up to Color and running away, she tries to climb on his back again. My sister again corrected her, explaining that that hurts Buddy and we don't want to hurt him, so please don't climb on his back. The little girl says okay and runs off. This time my sister moved to a different spot, a little ways away from where the girl was playing, and after a while stopped paying attention to where she was. This time the girl came back and climbed on Buddy's back a third time. Just as my sister noticed her and started to say something, Buddy growled. The growl startled the little girl and she lost her balance, fell off and hit her face on the sidewalk. Damn, that is why you should not leave your kids unattended. Anyway, when my sister took her to her house to get her parents, they were convinced Buddy bit her. They would not listen to my sister's story and insisted the scrape on the daughter's cheek was a dog bite, even though it was clearly a white sidewalk scrape, not teeth marks. Buddy had no history of biting, even though he was always surrounded by kids, and my sister was there when it happened and saw the whole thing. I even rushed outside to see what all the yelling was about, saw the scrape and saw Buddy just sitting there with his head down like he thought he was in trouble. Poor old dog would not hurt a fly. In a traumatic to-do, they rushed their daughter to the hospital and got her cheek bandaged up, remember it was just a scrape but okay, and sought out a military police officer with experience working with attack dogs who told them once a German Shepherd tastes blood, they will never stop trying to kill that person. They came to us that night and demanded we put our dog down because he will try to kill their daughter. My dad was very reasonable and understood their fear, so he said he would talk to the family and get back to them. When he told us they wanted us to kill our dog, we all started crying and hugging Buddy and begging Dad not to do it. My dad was a big softie, but could be fiercely protective of his family. If anyone made us cry, it was all over. The next day he told the neighbors he believed my sister that the dog did not bite their daughter and he was just old and trying to protect himself from being hurt by her again. They did not take this well, and from then on they would call their daughter inside whenever they saw us, with or without the dog, and tried spreading gossip about us with the other neighbors. Everyone else liked us though, so that did not go anywhere. Long story short, the mean neighbors moved and Buddy lived to the ripe old age of at least 17. He died after a long battle with cancer on my 16th birthday. I went with my dad to put him down and put an end to his suffering. I did not want him to feel abandoned on the last days of his life when he had always been such a good dog. Thank you very much for posting the story, and I'm very sorry about your loss. I hope Buddy is in heaven now, where he won't get bothered by annoying neighbors. In addition, the OP also posted 3 pictures from Buddy, and the first one is titled, "This is my dog Buddy from my story. That is me and my brother when we were babies." The next one is titled, "Edited photo of Buddy giving a kitten a piggyback ride and my baby sister standing next to him nicely." I gotta say that is one of the cutest pictures I've ever seen. And the next one is titled, "Edited photo of Buddy worshipping the ground my dad walked on." I guess the only thing left to say is, rest in peace Buddy. And the last story is also from our own subreddit and was posted by user BillC1958 and is titled, "Absent security guard and boss living in wrong century." Hi there, enjoying all the stories as usual. Thought I would share another of mine if you would like to use it. It's actually 2 connected stories and I don't have a clue how you would categorize them. About 20 years ago, I was working as the manager of a high-rise apartment building. I had never done that type of work before, but found out I really liked it and was pretty good at it. Plus, I could not beat the commute to work, hop in the elevator and go down to my office. By the way, are any of my ripe stars also struggling with a long commute to work every day? Let us know in the comments. My heart goes out to you because I know how crappy that can be. Anyway, our building had secure entrances, so no one was getting in without a key or without being buzzed in by a resident. At night we also had an on-site security guard. We had a desk set up for him in the lobby and he was expected to make hourly rounds in the building and parking lot. It was not a difficult job by any means. And yet we kept having cars stolen from the parking lot at night, sometimes 2 or 3 a week. It seemed like security was not doing a very good job. We also seemed to have a huge turnover in security guards. These guards were not employed by our company, but rather by the security company we contracted with. It seemed like each week we had a new security guard and none of them were very good. One in particular I will never forget. I should mention that our security guards were expected to punch a time clock when they came on duty and then punch out when they left. One night I came home late and noticed the guard was not in the lobby. I assumed he was making rounds, so I waited, wanting to talk to him about the parking lot issues. Eventually I got tired of waiting and walked around myself to see if I could find him. Then I checked the time card to make sure he had punched in. He had punched in, so I was not sure where he was. I gave up and went to bed as I had to work the next morning. The following night I decided to go down to the lobby about half an hour after security started his shift again to talk with him about the parking lot. He was not at the desk but had punched in. So I waited. I should mention that when the guard was not actually making rounds, he was supposed to be at the desk in the lobby. So I sat there and waited and waited and waited. After a couple of hours I went up to bed. I came back a few hours later and tried again. No sign of him. I began to suspect he was either sleeping in his car or had actually just punched in and gone home. I went back to my apartment and came down in the morning. The guard had punched out at the end of his shift. I went to my office and called the security company and told them what seemed to be going on. The supervisor was livid. Together, he and I hatched a plan to catch the security guard. We agreed that the next night we would meet in the lobby about 30 minutes after the guard was supposed to clock in. If the guard was there, fine. He would be spoken to, reminded of his responsibilities, etc. But if not, we would wait for him. So that night we met as planned. The guard had punched in on time but was not in the lobby. So we sat down to wait for him. After an hour and a half we searched the lot for his car and it was not there. It became quite clear that he was not on the premises. The supervisor said he would stay and cover the shift, and I promised to come back down in the morning to be there when he caught the guard coming in to punch out. I returned about 20 minutes before the guard was due to punch out, and the supervisor confirmed he had not been there all night. So we waited, and sure enough, right on schedule, he walks in and is surprised to see me and his supervisor sitting at the desk in the lobby. He tried to tell us he was just finishing his last set of rounds, but of course we knew he was lying, and I think he realized that. He was terminated on the spot. After he left crumbling, I spoke to the supervisor about why we seemed to have trouble getting and keeping good security guards. It did not make sense because their company had a reputation for providing excellent security. His response brings us to the second part of this story. He told me the fault was not theirs but my boss's. Apparently, the property manager who was in charge of all the buildings owned by our company had told them we only wanted white security guards. Although it was an illegal request, they did not want to lose our business because they were apparently providing security to all the buildings. I was flabbergasted. A couple of hours later, I called my boss, told him what had happened, and the following conversation ensued. CB, clueless boss, property manager, me, that's me. Me, CB. I asked the security supervisor why we were having such a problem getting good security for the building. He told me that the reason was that you told him we only want white guards. Is that true? CB.
Yes, it is.
Me, why?
Because we don't have any black tenants, and a black security guard might make our tenants uncomfortable.
CB, no offense, but what century are you living in?
What?
Of course we have black tenants. We have Asian tenants, we have Indian tenants, we don't discriminate. What you asked the security company to do is illegal and has kept us from getting any of their better guards. I'm surprised they even honored your request. CB, stunned.
We have black tenants?
Of course we have black tenants. All of our apartment complexes have black tenants.
Since when?
Probably since the building was built. CB finally got with the program, called the security company, and after that we had reliable security. And no, none of our tenants were uncomfortable with black security guards. They were thrilled to finally have real security, guards who stayed all night and were not replaced in a week. Thank you very much for the story, Bill. I am also not sure how to categorize that story, but I really like the way you are writing. So if you have any more stories, please feel free to share them. But unfortunately guys, this has to be the last story for today. If you have not already posted some stars, please do so in the comments to support me. But either way, I hope you have a fantastic day and I see you again tomorrow.